Hello, you guys. Welcome to the platform for Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I am your humble host, Dr. Jefferson, or Dr. Jefferson Brown, Dr. JB, Doc, any of that good stuff works. Welcome to my Wellness Wednesday. Okay, you guys, I have found that it is so difficult for me to commit to doing this show weekly on a Monday or Tuesday. It's just hard, okay? Because by the end of my day, because typically my show is at the end of my day, right? By the end of my work day on a Monday or Tuesday, I'm tired. It's late. I'm tired. I've been up since the morning. It's sometimes just too much. Okay. So here is my Wellness Wednesday feature. I could probably do this every day. Could probably stick to and be pretty consistent with this, you guys. I'm gonna see if I can find something that works and then we're gonna stick to it, okay? Don't hold me to that though. But I do typically come on social media on various platforms and do a Wellness Wednesday tip. So why not, right? So I want to talk about staying mentally fit today. I think it's important for us to acknowledge the fact that not at all times are we going to be mentally well, emotionally well, behaviorally well, or well put together. Um, there are various contributing factors to us not necessarily being our best version of ourselves or even presenting as such, okay? And in acknowledging that, I think we also have to acknowledge that a part of us must be accountable to how often we assess how well we're doing. So I would like to know how often you guys assess how well you're doing and what that looks like when you find that everything is just not as calibrated as you would like for it to be, or not as calibrated and well put together as you are accustomed to it being. That is my question for you guys. And give me just a second because I'm going to go on and share this video on social media really quickly. I don't see how, it used to be so easy to do social media posts and stuff. That is not a fact right now. For me, I think they make it so difficult to kind of get to everything and sync everything. So, yeah, that's just more chaotic than I believe it has to be. Oh, guess I can't find my business page. I have too many pages, I guess. Maybe that's the thing. Perhaps that is a thing, you guys. I found it. I found it. 1 second. Gotta turn it down and then share. Oh, sorry, y'all. There we go. Okay. Oh, so there it is, right? I have found a way to share it onto my page and hopefully that works. And there we are with that. So being emotionally, mentally, and behaviorally fit does require a model, right? And I think it requires a model that is definitely contingent upon the reports of other people as to how they see us and what their experience with us entails. Because if we are honest across the board, honest self-reflection in and of itself is not enough. Okay. Um, if we're owning the fact that everybody is connected in some kind of a way, that previous sentiment that I just expressed a moment ago, that not all times are we going to be 100% calibrated or where we want to be. We're owning the fact that sometimes the what other people does and how we experience other people, how we experience other systems has a definite impact on us. And our personal congruence and the way we see ourselves, the way we're experiencing life, our intentions for this life, if you will, and sometimes even our motivation to continue living this life in the way that we've started or happen to be doing, right? Coexisting with other people, other systems of humanity is very difficult because we're all various presentations of humanity. We don't all share the same culture. Even within the same culture, there are subcultures, and there is differentiation amongst belief systems and what we do grab on to, and as far as tradition and culture and customs, and what we don't, right? The things that we refute outright. All of that could vary. So I think it's important that when we choose to lean on the report of other people or outside reports as to how people are experiencing us, things they're noticing about us, I think it has to be people that either align with our agenda, what it is that we believe in, and how our beliefs and practices are observed and portrayed or put out into the atmosphere, or it could be people that can understand fully our plight. So they don't necessarily have to believe in what we believe in, walk in the walks that in the shoes that we step in, and all that good stuff, same path. They just have to really understand us. And in order for them to do that, we must be vulnerable. We must be people that allow people in, right? So if we're constantly assessing, not every day, okay? Because you're going to find some variation from day to day, but you don't want to be doing all this work and making new goals and all that stuff. You don't want to be doing that daily. So I would say either set a goal of monthly, assessing where you are week by week, and weekly assessing that. And basically a weekly assessment looks like we're evaluating the things that are important to us, the people that are important to us, the way that we're showing up and we're adding value to other people, and the way that people are showing up and adding value to us. I think that that's important when we're assessing, because it's important to acknowledge the fact that family may not be so important if we're focused on work this particular month, right? And that would be okay. So if we're doing that assessment and we're asking people that are close to us, the folks that we've decided to be vulnerable enough with to let them in, if we're asking them weekly and then monthly, how have you been experiencing me? Are there some things that I could be blind to? Are there some blind spots there? What are some things that you've noticed that have come up for your observations of me? What you're doing is you're not asking them how good of a person you're being. What you're doing is you're just asking them to assess the version of you that's presenting for them and showing up for them recently, and compare it to the version of me that I've offered you when I feel like I'm my very best, right? Because this would be a person that you've chosen to confide in. I think it's equally important to emphasize the importance of our self-assessment, taking into account all of the things that may have an impact, a potential impact on our emotional, behavioral, or mental health, right? So currently, we are all either directly exposed to a natural disaster or passively exposed to a natural disaster. No matter where you are in the United States, I'm sure you know somebody, and if you don't know somebody personally, you've been a person that has witnessed the media coverage and the social media exposure of said events. Um, and with that being said, my thoughts, my heart, and my prayers are definitely with the people of Asheville, North Carolina. I literally passed through both ends. And at a distance, considering where I was and the things that were happening at the moment that I was on the road, I had some thoughts. And I was praying for you guys then. And I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that must be like for the folks that are connected to people directly who are in that area, and who have been directly impacted. So just know that you guys are definitely in my thoughts, my prayers. If you guys are interested in donating, there are a couple of GoFundMe's out there. That's how I donate. And I think it's important that we remain cognizant of how that stuff affects our mental and emotional and behavioral well-being. So we might show up a little bit differently because we've been exposed to that devastation. But the other piece is we live in an era right now where social media has a huge impact on the level of exposure that we have to a lot of traumatic events, right? You have people filming murders and posting that stuff, and it's up there for a while before it's either taken down outright or reported and censored, right? You've got a ton of electoral kind of stuff that's going on in politics. And that can, definitely affects people, emotional, mental, and behavioral health. I think if we're paying attention to how these things impact us, how we feel about these things, what we're doing when we feel a way about these things, how we're responding to people who also feel heavily about these things or feel less heavy or passive about the things that we're passionate about. If we are being honest about those things, I think it helps us to know what to do in the next phase of identifying that there is an issue. Now, I want to get to this because if we identify after self assessing and then collectively assessing from other people that we've decided to trust, and bring in, if we've assessed that there are some issues there, I think it's important for us to create a list of things that we'd like to see happen in a different way for us as a result of what we found. Because some of the things that people point out to us, and maybe some of the things that we find out about ourselves, are not going to be things that we really want to change, because perhaps these changes are happening systematically for a reason. Maybe these are things that we've always needed to do, but we just never took action on, and they just happen to be aligning in that way, right? And a new version of us is emerging. And that's okay for us to notice that thing and then pay tribute and honor that thing, perhaps, right? But it's also okay for us to decide that some of these things are not the way we want ourselves to continue to show up. And if we find that that's a thing, write down, at least create your list of at least 3 things, 3 to 5 things. Don't do too much, right? And these things essentially will become goals for you. And then you can start creating potential objectives, like specific things that you can measure and you know what it'll look like once you've accomplished them. Okay. That could be, I'll give you guys a good example. If my family and friends have noticed, I hate to be so self-revealing, but sometimes people are, hey, you only relate if I give it to you, right? And this is a public page. So there it is. So recently, I'll share one of my personal sentiments with you guys. Recently, two of my children, yes, I am a mother of 11, but 2 of my kids shared with me that they felt I am very, very intense on vacations in general. And that was not new news to me. Okay, I'm very self-aware. Even outside of just being a therapist, I've always been kind of an intuitive person, but also very self-aware, and I believe in taking accountability for what things are there, whatever those things are. However, I was curious as to why it is that these particular children were like, why'd you hold on to that for so long? But okay, so do you think I should be different? It's the question that I asked, right? Do you think I should be less intense on vacations? They were like, well, it is a vacation. So, we get that you want to relax, but to some extent, we get that you don't really like, too much human interaction and people interaction when you're vacationing. But, you know, could you maybe dial it back or scale it back or create a hazard sign, right, for engagement? So what that is your way. It could be like your internal processors of coming up with ways that you can mitigate these presentations if you've decided these are things that you would like to see change. And for me, in that particular case, what I looked at is the thing that probably needs to be changed the most. My goal that I would like to work towards is being able to convey to people with more tact that I'm intentionally doing nothing, or I am intentionally on my own, or I am intentionally, there is intention behind the level of isolation or withdrawal that one may be perceiving on the outside. And I need that because that is a need for me. I am a person who needs me time. It's valuable. We all do. But I am a particular person when it comes to me having my me time. So time for meditative practices, spiritual rituals, and just quiet time for reflection for me, because that's what keeps me balanced and calibrated, because I do a lot of work with other people on a regular basis. I'm connected and absorbing a lot of energy on a regular basis from others. Outside influence has the potential to do harm, and I want to make sure it never does. Okay. I'll do a sage ritual, cleansing ritual, lemon, basil, thyme, oregano when it's cooking, the herbs and the spices when I'm cooking, they calm me even. They bring me to level, lavender, chamomile. So these are things that do it for me, right? But these are still things that I like to do by myself to bring myself back into um synchrony with my best version of myself. Okay. So I think it has to be something that you self identify needs to be a change after consulting with others, after also consulting with your inner self and being honest with yourself about what you see is there. Okay. So ways that I have identified my objectives, right? Specific objectives, I'll know that I've been able to accomplish this goal when there is some level of forethought that comes before I respond to people more consistently. Because I'll say more consistently because it's important for me to note that there is always forethought with me. Okay. Because my forethought looks like, I know you saw me sitting here alone by myself, enjoying the sun, enjoying the rays, enjoying the water, enjoying the peace. What made you think that I needed you to come in, interrupt me and have a whole conversation? Like, why would we be talking now if I've elected to be quiet? Like, this is what's going on inside, right? So before I respond at all, it may appear to a person on the outside, that's the self-awareness you have to acknowledge. And on the person for the person on the outside, that might look like you're ignoring them, which for all intents and purposes, we're going to call that a thing. I am. I'm ignoring all things that take me out of this particular moment. Self-preservation, right? So if the thought processes look like, when I respond to this person, I'll express to them what my inner thoughts are right now and the intention of this moment for me. And what that does is, yes, these things may find themselves interrupting your practices or your rituals for a moment, but it's a momentary kind of interruption. It's not permanent. You can get back to it. And it allows people who are trying to be connected to you, who want to stay tethered to you, and perhaps you even have a value for them, maybe not for that moment, but maybe later. It allows you to continue to have a viable relationship with them. And then it also teaches them that perhaps there are some boundaries that they're trying to step over, and you're not going to allow them to do that. And so they need to recalibrate and realign themselves, respecting your boundaries. A second objective would be for me to have another conversation around my specific boundaries and around my belief systems that clarify for those people that I find myself now being exposed to or tethered to in some way, that allow them to make whatever necessary accommodations they need to make in order to stay connected, right? Or to make the decision to disconnect, whichever one is going to be perfect as an outcome, because either way, I've achieved the change that brings about more calibration of self, and me being able to be intentional and non-interrupted in that space where I'm trying to reserve that for myself. The last thing maybe that I could create as an objective is to forewarn people during times that I want some time to myself. To have a conversation, brief but thorough and concise, that, hey, I'm going to do these things for me and I want to be uninterrupted for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it is. Is there anything you need from me before I go into that? Right? So that's how I would handle my situation. I want you guys to tell me what you got from this and what you will be doing when you find that you are mentally um uncalibrated in some way, right? And what the things are that you do to make sure that you find yourself back on track. If it's something just small, minor. Of course, if it's something major that you discover, I always advise therapy shopping. Therapy shopping in and of itself can help us confirm or reject the idea that we need to be back in therapy. The other piece is therapy shopping can help us connect with a professional that is compassionate, that may be a good fit for us, or that is not compassionate and definitely is a bad fit for us. But it can help us connect with people that are professionals in this industry that can either confirm or deny that we may or may not be going through something that requires us be in therapy and work on some of these things with someone else outside of self. So that is all I've got, you guys. I am sending positive vibes your way wherever you are in the world right now, whatever you are experiencing. And I just want you guys to remain positive. Okay. I know it's difficult to do that amidst all of the chaos that's going on in the world right now. There's just so much. And it's so much that it'll make your heart heavy, but it'll make your heart hard too. Because some of the things that are happening in this world are just so chaotic and they're so evil that you don't have another way that you would respond to it. But I am sending positive vibes your way so that maybe you can find the positive or the little glimmer of light that is that fine silver lining, right? In whatever negative experience you might be experiencing today. And just know that everything that God does or gives us exposure to in this life has a purpose. And we may not know it. We may not be able to see it on the surface. We may not be able to connect with it for months sometimes. But eventually he makes it very clear to us. And when it's clear, it's clear. When you know, you know. Okay. Yeah. So love, light, and positive energy to you guys. I hope that you get everything that you intended to get done today, in this day, in this week. And hey, we're midway through a week and we're beginning in a new month. We are blessed. That's all I've got, you guys. Later days. Bye.